Hi, I'm Gary White for Central Kentucky Television. I'm here with Marion County School Superintendent Chuck Hamilton for an update on what's going on with the Marion County school system for our Ask the Superintendent segment. And we have a lot of topics we want to talk about, a lot of good news.
Good news.
First, let's talk about what everybody's been talking about with the school system for a little bit, and that's with the Lady Knights State Championship win.
It has been an absolutely fabulous ride for those girls, particularly and their families, but the community as a whole, and we're very proud of them. It's a historic team and season. We're 39-0, first time in over 25 years that's happened. There's less than 20 county districts in the whole state that can boast having both a boys and girls state championship basketball team. It's very exceptional. We've got 3 of our 4 seniors have already signed to play college basketball, and I'm very confident the 4th will also be signed to play at some point. And there's a couple of younger girls coming up that also have potential to play at the collegiate level. And then, of course, our coach was just this week, actually, in Atlanta, was recognized as the Naismith High School Girls Basketball Coach of the Year. And on that same docket was Pat Summitt from Tennessee and Lute Olson from Arizona. So, pretty lofty company to be recognized with.
That's great. One of my favorite stories, too, is that it's been 20 years since we had the boys win, and that Mr. Epps was on that team, and his daughter took the team this year, so 20 years later.
Yeah, that's just a fascinating story. And the fact that not only was he on the boys team that won it 20 years ago, which is our only boys state championship team, and then his daughter comes along 20 years later, he was on the bench coaching with her. Just a fabulous, fabulous story. I'm looking for ESPN to come in and do a human interest story with it. That would be wonderful.
It's really good. It's good. Well, so we wanted to talk about that because I know a lot of people have been talking about that with the school system,
That's
right?
Correct. That's correct.
But let's go down to some other business too. Namely, the legislature has just passed a bill that may impact some students with the dropout age being raised to 18.
That is correct. I believe it was Senate Bill 97, just was recently passed. And what it allows is for school boards to make the decision to raise the dropout age to age 18, which would then be enforceable by law. And that would go into effect for, I believe, the 2015-16 school year. I'm very confident, although we've not actually had a vote or anything on it, but I'm very confident that our school board is going to support that bill. I would be very surprised if they went in a different direction. I think they feel like, as I do, that it has high potential to help us assure graduation for some of our students who now really, at age 16, for a lot of them, they're just now entering high school. May have had some difficulties early on in their careers, and so they really haven't had the opportunity to experience what high school truly is, and then they make the decision to leave. Well, this would, by force of law, have them stay at least through age 18, and we feel like the more we have them, the longer we have them, the more we can show them about the value of completing the education, getting a diploma, and maybe even start working on a career path.
That's great. Okay. So does that go into effect immediately, or will that be for?
That's a good question. The board will probably have some discussion about it, but the reality is it really doesn't become a matter of law until 90 days after the last legislative session date.
Okay. So
you're really looking at sometime maybe in July before you could take actual action on it. And then the first group that it could affect would be your 2015-16 seniors. So you're still looking at a couple of years away. And the positive side of that is it gives families time to prepare for it, students time to prepare. It's unfortunate, but we do still have some folks in the community that really see that age 16 or dropping out of school is kind of a rite of passage. It's very unfortunate in this day and time. So we want to give them a little time, obviously, to adjust for that and prepare for it. And it gives us some time to make sure that we have things in place. As you know, we started the Hugh C. Spalding Academy, which is an alternative program, and it really is intended for those students who we know are going to struggle to get through the regular curriculum that we provide at Marion County High School. And then we want to also look at any other options we might have for helping them through response to intervention, extended school services to help better prepare them to actually stay through graduation. I just can't tell you how much I support it because I know how important it is to have that high school diploma in your hand and what it does for you for I mean, studies show that high school graduates have better health throughout the rest of their life. They have a more opportunity for career options. They retain jobs longer. It's just too strong a research base to not believe that every student or kid who goes through school at Marion County should not get out with a high school diploma.
Right.
And so this is just one of those things to help us do that.
Good. Some other good news about the district is we have the schools to watch, and one of our schools has been named for that, right?
Yes. You know, really, really proud of Lebanon Middle School. They actually, a couple of years ago, applied for this recognition through the state and had an audit team come down, and they said at that time, you know, you're close, you've got some good things in place, but we think there's some improvement areas, and the school took that as it was meant to be, positive critique on what they could do to get better, and they spent the last couple of years working on that. So the Schools to Watch folks agreed to come back down and do another audit of the school. They did. That included interviews with students, with staff, with folks in the community. It was a document search on all the programs that we provide at that school. And Mr. Farmer has just made it a goal of his that he believes so strongly in the program at Lebanon Middle School that they deserve the recognition. And sure enough, the audit team this time around came back and says, guess what, guys? You've done what you needed to do. And there's just lots of things that they looked at. It's not just about academic achievement. It's about social preparation. It's about meeting the diversity of the students that are in the building. It's about having an organizational plan that's sustaining. So what we will actually do is I think it's maybe a 3 to 5 year period, we will actually have the audit team come back and reassess to make sure that we're still on track for the things that, and what they're looking at is research-based practices that have been proven effective for continuing to raise students who come from high poverty areas or diversity and are being very successful. I don't know how you could be any prouder of a school to reach that achievement. In fact, there are only, and I just checked the website before I came here for this interview to be sure, there are less than 20 schools in the state of Kentucky that have this recognition.
Wow.
So it's
That's great.
Very difficult to attain, and we should all be very proud as a community. Not that I want to cast light back on it, but those of us who've been around for a long time ago, if you had said 20 years ago Lebanon Middle School would be a school for other schools to look at for improvement, you would have probably heard a lot of laughter, and you just don't get that now. And we actually have schools come to us from other districts to visit and see what's going on at Lebanon Middle School.
So that's proof there then, because 20 years ago was where you're saying,
Yep.
and now 20 years later, it has
a school to
improved upon
watch.
itself. So
And a great deal of that goes to the students themselves and the families, because they've accepted the higher expectations that they've been given. But a lot of that drive comes from Mr. Farmer, the principal, and the staff that's on board. They have just adopted the stance that they will not accept anything but the best from their students, and they push them and hold them accountable, and they hold themselves accountable. So I'm very proud of them.
fantastic. Okay. Now, also, there's a change coming up with a tobacco-free campus, right?
Yeah. We're saying change, but the reality is Marion County Public Schools have had a tobacco-free policy since, it was about 2000. I think it was passed actually in 2000. And the reason that we did it at that time is there were a lot of federal grants that we were applying for, and one of the criteria for those grants was that you have a tobacco-free campus. And in essence, we did have a tobacco-free campus, but it was kind of out of sight, no questions are asked. It didn't necessarily mean that there was no tobacco on campus. And anybody that's attended a ball game or graduation in the past years has seen people outside smoking. They weren't in the building, they were outside. But the reality is the tobacco-free policy basically says no tobacco, anytime, any place, by anyone. And our board has made it very clear that if that is our policy, they want it followed to the letter. And we've had that discussion through our administrative teams. That's been filtered down through our staff. And this has all been probably within about the last month. And I'm very pleased to report that in my review and checks, it is being followed. We will have the difficulty of community, and we know that because they've been kind of used to coming to these events and then stepping outside to take a smoke. And what we're asking them to do now is to not do that. It's not just smoke tobacco. We're also talking about dip or chew, as well as just no tobacco. And of course, with baseball season and softball coming up, it'll get tested a little bit. But I'm confident that the community believes in what we're doing, and if they know that that's a policy we have in place, that they will help us to support that. So we just want to make sure everyone was aware of that.
And that's on any grounds of all the facilities?
Any school grounds at all. If it's owned by the Board of Education, it is a tobacco-free property. That includes school buses. You know, even though they may be out in the county, they're still school property, and so there's no tobacco.
And none in your car either? You don't go to your car?
No, if you do, we're asking you drive off campus to do that. And we do have some staff members that that on their breaks will get in their cars and drive down to out to the park, another parking lot, another facility, and
take care of what they need to.
Take whatever they need to, and then come on back, and we're understanding of that. It just can't be on campus.
And when is this going to be fully implemented?
Well, we're actually, as far as staff, students, we've really, that's always been the case. With staff, it's been the case. It just has been sort of a, if it's not seen, it's not been talked about. Well, that's no longer the case now. With community, it's never really been enforced or pushed outdoors. Indoors we've never, and the community's been good about not smoking indoors, but we've sort of allowed it outdoors. That's actually starting now. Like I said, we're getting ready to start baseball, softball season, track season, a lot of outdoor activities. It'll be a little bit of a challenge, but we'll start reminding folks that we really prefer you not smoke or use tobacco products on school grounds.
Okay, great. All right, how about our ACT scores? How are they looking?
Yeah, that's exciting too. We just got our this year's juniors took the ACT, which is part of the State Unbridled Learning Accountability System. So all juniors, regardless, it doesn't make any difference if they're enrolled in our schools and they're classified as junior, they take the ACT. And if you'll recall from when we were in school, basically the only time you took it is if you knew you were going to go to college and you needed it to get in. Now everybody takes it, and we've got our scores back. Or the majority of our scores back, and we've looked at the percentages on them, and we're very pleased to report that those scores are up in all content areas. So that's English, math, and reading. So very pleased to report that. The percentages of those reaching benchmarks has gone up from the previous year. That comes on the tail of, if you'll recall, I think in an earlier session that you and I had here, we talked about PLAN and EXPLORE scores. PLAN is an assessment given to sophomores, and it's a pre-ACT test. And then EXPLORE is given to 8th graders, and it's made by the same company and has some correlation to the ACT. It's more about letting kids explore their options for careers in college, things like that. But those scores have been going up as well, which is obviously good for the high school, because it means kids are coming to them better prepared for it. So we're very excited about what the future holds for our students' preparation to be college ready.
That's great. Great. All right. Now, also, there's a pilot project with the Area Technology Center that we want to kind of touch upon, right?
Sure do. I went to the Marion County Area Technology Center Steering Committee meeting the other night, and I'd already kind of got a heads up that we were going to have an opportunity to be a part of a program. Dr. Dale Winkler was there from Kentucky Department of Education. He's Associate Commissioner for Career Technical Education. And there was a lady, and I'm sorry I can't remember her name, but she was out of Oklahoma, and she was there in representation of a group called the Southern Region Education Board. The Southern Region Education Board is a group of about 16 southern states, of which we are a member of that. And what they do is they provide professional development and almost kind of like the Schools to Watch program, an audit of a school and to see how well they're doing and are they using best practices. Well, they have a program called Technology Schools That Work, and we are going to be the pilot site for the state of Kentucky with this program. There are about 100 or so area tech centers in the state. 54 of those are state-run. We are the only state-run technology center who's going to be working with this project. So what they do is they provide professional development, as Southern Region Education Board provides professional development to our staff, and it's about tying academics to career opportunities like welding and carpentry, automotive, machine tooling, those type things. So the staff there is excited about it. They kind of knew this was coming and had some discussion about it, and we're just happy that the state felt like our technology center was at a place where obviously they're going to choose some place they know this is going to be successful as a pilot, because they want to move it out to other school districts. So that speaks very highly of how the state sees the Area Technology Center in Marion County and the product that they've been producing, the students who come out of that. So I think it's actually a recognition in and of itself, even though it's going to require some additional work by the staff. And in the local school board, even though we don't have governance of the Area Technology Center, we've pledged that we will help support them in any way to do this, because we see it as a good thing for the students and the community of Marion County.
That's great. So a lot of exciting stuff happening in the area.
Yeah.
Again, I'm talking with Chuck Hamilton, who is the Marion County School Superintendent. But before we leave, we want to talk about some upcoming events that are going to be happening with the school system, right?
Sure. These are some upcoming and some things that have already happened. A lot of times we talk about test scores and the unbridled learning, state accountability system, and we get indexed and we get ranked and labeled and things like that. But there's lots of other things that happen in our schools that aren't counted as part of that. And we participate with a lot of civic and charitable different organizations like the Make-A-Wish Foundation. I saw an ad on Channel 6 here recently for the Junior Mister program that's coming up. Actually, it's going to be Saturday, March the 23rd. I think it starts at 7 o'clock at Marion County High School.
Yep.
Highly encourage people to come out for that. All the funds raised go to help make a wish of a child who's battling an illness that's in a lot of cases life-threatening. So we hope you would do that. But we also have other things going on. Red Cross, we all recently did a fundraiser for the Red Cross, and we set a goal of $1,000 for that and ended up raising almost $3,000 in about a week's time. It was absolutely phenomenal. And we've had Penny for Patients going on for the Leukemia Society, programs like Hoops for Heart for the American Heart Foundation. There's just lots of things that the schools do that I'm not sure everybody's aware of. Everybody meaning the community at large. Now the school families are very aware of it, but we felt like this was a good place to publicize that. And part of the reason we do that is, one, it's the right thing to do, but two, it also lets our students learn that there's more joy from giving than getting, and here's a way that you can do that. And it's pretty amazing to see how enthusiastic kids are, and I'm talking about from kindergarten through high school seniors about being a part of these projects. So I would have felt remiss to not make the community aware of that, and to let folks know how proud we are of the work of our students and staff in these endeavors.
That's great. And also, I think with the Pennies for Patients, that's going on at Lebanon Middle School, right?
That's correct, yeah.
They're having their fashion show, because I just got a call from Dee Dee Ciccone, who's organizing that. We've taped that for the past, I don't know how many years they've had it, but I know at least a year or two. That they're going to have that on Wednesday, March 27th. So you'll get to see that, where they have a fashion show with people going to demonstrate some of the fashions of the different businesses in the area. That's a fundraiser for that Pennies for Patients program. So a lot of fun stuff too that you get to do.
Yeah, they do try to make it fun, and we hope that as they mature into our students mature into adults, that and some of us get to that place where we're not as energetic to do these type of things, that they will continue to do that as young adults and and through maturity.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for this update.
I'll always enjoy it.
All right, this has been Gary White with Chuck Hamilton. Dr. Hamilton is the Marion County School Superintendent for our Ask the Superintendent segment on Central Kentucky Television.